It's 1994, and I'm 19 years old. And I'm in my Mitsubishi Galant with every single possession I own, driving from South Texas to DC, the land of snow and glitter and politics. I was so audacious to believe that I belonged there, to go to American University and study international business. I came in the winter and it was pretty quiet, but I was really eager to get to know people and start meeting people and get integrated with the community. So I went to a play, and I went by myself, and a young gentleman started to engage me in conversation during the intermission. I didn't find him very attractive, but he was very charming, and I was so excited to have my first interaction with another human being at American University. He was also Latin, and I was really interested in Latin culture and loved Latin dancing. So when he invited me to go to the Spy Club, a very hip dance club in downtown DC, I said yes. So I went back to my dorm room and I put on my best little black dress and I got all gussied up and I got in a cab and I went by myself to the Spy Club. And you know that uncomfortable bit when you're looking around and you don't know anyone? When I saw Percy, that was his name, across the way, I was like, yes, okay, somebody I know. So I went over and started to talk to him. Now, I was underage, but he insisted that I have a drink. I didn't drink, I didn't want to get in trouble, but, I'm a good girl from South Texas. You don't say no, so I politely drank about half of it. Then he asked me to go dance. Sure. So we get out on the dance floor, and Percy starts to bump and grind up against me. So I politely bump and grind too. And then I excuse myself. And after some more uncomfortable conversation, I say, I'm going to go to the restroom. And I leave without saying goodbye. I sneak out. I go back to my dorm room. It's late now, like 2 or 3 a.m. Go back to my room, leave it open, come back to the community area where I see my resident assistant is still awake. Very slight, beautiful Indian gal named Ria. And I'm still really excited about the evening, even though I felt very uncomfortable around Percy. So I just wanted to tell somebody, yeah, I went out, I went to the Spy Club, I had a great time. And I look up, and in walks Percy. Now, this is important because in the dorms at American University, no one that doesn't live in the dorm can come in without being personally escorted by the person they're visiting. So to this day, we don't know how he actually got into the dorm. Now, because I'm a polite good girl, I'm like, oh, hello. Oh, hi, how are you? And Ria thinks I'm happy to see him because I'm so friendly and I don't show any of my discomfort. And he sits down on the couch next to me and starts to stroke my hair. So now I'm very uncomfortable again, but still don't say anything. I just say, oh, well, it's nice to see you. I'm tired. I think I'm going to go. Good night, Ria. And get up and I start to walk back to my room. Percy is walking behind me. Like, no, I'm good. I'm tired. Yeah, I'm beat. Yeah, tons of homework. Yeah. But the door's open, so he follows me right in. Now, I've never had any kind of assertiveness training. All I know is that you're supposed to be nice. You're not rude. You don't tell people things that will upset them. So I'm still sitting there, engaging with Percy. Now I'm brushing my hair as if I'm about to get ready for bed. Can this guy not take a hint? I'm done. Yeah, no, I'm good. I had a good time, but I'm done for the night. So he comes over and puts his arms around me and locks me in an embrace and starts to kiss me on my face and my neck. Now this has actually gone too far even for me. So I push him off and I'm like, what kind of girl do you think I am? Now, the truth is, I was that kind of girl. But only for someone that I invited into my bedroom, not for this guy. But isn't that strange that the only defense I thought I could really say forcefully is that I'm a good girl? Who do you think I am? Not just no. So Percy then says, oh, of course, no. I'll go. Just give me one more hug. I promise I'll be good this time. And I'm thinking, like the Woody Allen thought bubble, what do I have to do to get this guy to leave? Fine, I will acquiesce. That's what it will take. So I give him a hug, and sure enough, locks me down tight again, starts to kiss me, and it's all I can do to get him off of me. And push him as politely as I can out the door and lock it behind me. Now, fast forward 20 years, almost exactly 20 years, I'm sitting on a plane reading a book, and I've got chills up my arms. This is Terry Tempest Williams' book called When Women Were Birds. Has anyone read that? It's really good. Terry Tempest Williams is a good Mormon. And I had met her, we overlapped for a very short period of time on a foundation board. And my fellow board members said, you should read some of her work to get to know her. She's an amazing author. Well, in this, there's one segment where she tells a story. Even as a good Mormon girl, having gotten married very young, she had some desires. She wanted to go beyond. She wanted to explore. So she left her husband to go study archaeology, with his blessing, of course. And she was out in the field. Now, there was this one gentleman named Joseph, who was blonde and tan and fit. And of course she noticed him, but she was a good girl. One day, Joseph said, hey, why don't we go for a hike? It'll do you some good. And her intuition said no. And she tried to say, no, I'm good here. I'm getting work done. But he insisted. And rather than be rude and state what she really wanted, she acquiesced. She thought, better to just placate him and go for this hike than to be rude and upset him. So against her better judgment, she goes on the hike with him. Now, during the hike, her intuition is really firing. She doesn't want to be there. She's wondering, how did this happen? How did I get here? How can I get out of this? He hasn't done anything, but he just seems mad. He's walking behind her, and she's got the creeps. And at one point, she stops, and she turns around and looks up, and he's standing on a rock above her. And he's there braced with an axe over his head, and locks eyes with her, and she realizes the axe was meant for her. And as he steps forward to blow the axe onto her head, he slips, and she runs for her life. Now, when she gets back to camp, she tells no one. No one. She feels like this is her fault. Somehow she brought it upon herself. Somehow, by not listening to her intuition, or by not saying her actual desires, by going along with him when she knew she shouldn't, she was at fault. And she was so embarrassed she couldn't tell anyone. A few days later, they never saw Joseph again, but they did find this little hut. And a bunch of students, when they found it, started shouting, hey, you guys, you gotta come check this out. And she rushes with them, and when she saw what was inside, she actually ran out and vomited. There were books about the Aztecs and the Mayans with little post-it notes on pages about human sacrifice. And in the corner, there was the double-edged axe. He had meant to kill her. For years later, for decades later, any time a woman went missing, she thought, was it Joseph? And she realized, this is why she told that story, that when one woman doesn't speak, others could actually die. So back to 1994. I woke up the next morning. I didn't have any bruises on me. I didn't have any cuts, but I felt violated. I just felt icky and unsafe in my own space, this new dorm, this new life. And I couldn't put my finger on it. So I went to Ria, my Indian resident assistant, who listened to me. And she really encouraged me to go and report it. I was like, nah, I don't want to be the one that's the troublemaker or prima donna making something out of nothing, and surely I just misunderstood it. Maybe I invited him and I just didn't remember it. I don't know. It wasn't until she said, maybe he'll do it again and some other woman would be hurt, that I said I would be willing to step forward. Now think about that. We won't stand up for ourselves, but we'll stand up for other women. So I got the courage together and I went to campus police and I walked in, and the all-male campus police staff said, "How can we help you?" Now they were actually fantastic, very gentle, handled me with kid gloves, only asked about the facts, and they took it really, really seriously. And they asked me, "Do you think that you can pick this gentleman out of a photo lineup?" Oh yeah, I remember him like yesterday. We even did a sketch. They put out 6 photographs, and there was Percy in there in one of the photographs. Now, why would they have a photograph on hand of this guy? So it turns out that in 1992 and in 1990, I also just recently found all my documents. I have my folder back there from my complaint 22 years ago. He had been discovered peeping in women's showers in that very residence hall. So as a result, he would have to go before conduct council, is what they called it, disciplinary council, and either be found responsible or not responsible instead of guilty, innocent. Now, Percy didn't want to go through with that. He actually dropped out of school, which I was pretty satisfied with, that he'd had some kind of repercussion. However, as I'm hanging out with all my Latin American friends, I start hearing these grumblings about some bitch that caused Percy to drop out of school. I said, "Well, you guys realize that I'm that bitch, right?" And they're like, "Well, why did you do that? Percy just gets horny when he gets drunk." I was like, "But why do I have to deal with his horniness when he's drunk? Would you want your sisters to have to deal with his horniness?" And they said no. And they never gave me a hard time about it afterwards. A semester later, Percy decided he did want to come back and finish his degree at American University, so we had to go forward with the Conduct Council meeting. I can't even tell you how uncomfortable it was to sit 2 chairs away from him, waiting for each of us to go in and give our testimony. And I hadn't even been raped. I hadn't even been punched. And it was one of the most uncomfortable moments of my life sitting next to this guy. So he went in and gave his testimony. I went in afterwards. The most important question they asked me was, when you were walking down your corridor to your room, was Percy next to you or was he behind you? And I said, he was behind me. I could feel the energy completely shift in the room when I said that. Afterwards, the Council of Peers decided that he was responsible. And once that decision has been made, they get to see the files in terms of any previous history to determine punishment. Seeing his history of the Peeping Tom incidents, he was actually expelled from American University. So I felt kind of bad that somebody's life had been changed by that, but I also realized as I was reading Terry Tempest Williams' account that I never really thought about that incident again. I never really worried, would some other woman be hurt because I didn't speak up? I never thought, did he not learn his lesson? Maybe he did, maybe he didn't, but I did my part in reporting what had factually happened to me and let the process go forward. The biggest, most impactful quote from Terry Tempest Williams' book was, "It's not the lips of a prince that will save us. It's our own lips speaking." Thank you.